Do not sit in these seats the next time you're flying in an airplane. Number one, an obvious seat to avoid is the very last row of any airplane because they do not recline. But there are two other reasons to avoid that back row seats. Number one, because you'll be last off of the airplane. Number two, if you have a connecting flight where you are catching another airplane in that airport to get to your final destination, avoid being in the back of the plane. The airlines do not tell you that 50 minutes is not enough time to connect to another flight, but they are still in 2025 going to allow you to book them. Another place I do not ever want to sit is the row that's in front of the exit row. As you know, for an airline family, we fly standby a lot, not as much as we used to because so many people are flying again. The exit rows do not recline. The seat in front of those exit rows also do not recline. And some airplanes are so uncomfortable. It's as if I'm hunched over for the entire flight if it does not recline. One travel tip is to research Seat Guru. He has every airplane size, like 737-800, 737-900, which would be the 737 MAX 9 or something like that. He also has the airplane configurations seat map for each airline. Alaska's 737 might look a little different in the way the seats are configured or mapped out than Delta Airlines, for instance. But the most important travel tip is when you are booking your flight, look carefully at the seat map picture that they give you in your cell phone before you buy that ticket. Another bad seat is the bulkhead row. It does get you off the airplane quicker. However, before the boarding process, during the first 30 minutes maybe of the flight time, you cannot have access to the floorboard with your personal item bag. After you are allowed to take off your seatbelt, then you can retrieve your personal item bag from the overhead bins and use it mid-flight. But then another tip is they're going to ask you to put it back up in the overhead bins for the last 30 minutes of flight. Did you know that several airlines now are making their flight attendants start cleaning up the cabin and putting your tray tables down and seat backs up 30 minutes before landing? That's before they used to make you do that. Did you know that you cannot choose an airplane seat on row 13 since so many people think it's unlucky? They do not have it. I thought this was interesting. On a United flight, there are no rows 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or 19 on a 737, and that's because there are different sizes, you know, like the MAX and the 737-700, 800, or something like that. That is because if they need to change flights, but it's a different length, them taking out those rows of seats helps them not have to change people's seat numbers. They will still have the same seat number, if that makes sense. This next seat to avoid is really personal preference. Since I have to use the restroom often because I drink so much water, I think, I do not prefer to sit in the middle or the window seat. However, this year I have gotten in the middle seat a few times, and one thing I do like about it, a benefit, is that I get usually both armrests. The aisle seat is becoming the worst one, and here's why. Because in the aisle seat, you basically have the elbow room that is the aisle where everyone walks through, including the flight attendants with their heavy cart. And if I have AirPods in watching a show with the in-flight entertainment, I may not hear them saying cart coming through, and so you might get bumped. Also, I noticed on my most recent trip, either to Colorado or Arizona, I could barely fit my backpack under there. My tote bag, the Nomad Lane tote bag, has fit under every airplane seat. One travel hack for this backpack, see how this personal item bag has like an angle, a diagonal angle to it for its shape? You usually put your backpack under the airplane seat in front of you so that you can pull the handles like that. But if it does not fit, turn it around so that the more narrow low part is going under the base of the chair in front of you. And this one, they're both 15.6 version for computers, but this one had a hard time because I can stuff so much in that backpack. If you have a problem with that, just pack less and follow my packing steps to pack more in your carry-on luggage. Another seat that I used to avoid is the window seat because I have to go to the bathroom so often, but you kind of get an extra space because that shape of the outer edge of the airplane kind of juts out at an arc. So you kind of have room to lean your head over to move away from that middle aisle handrest. Handrest? Armrest. However, if I am in an airplane that is configured 2, 5, and 2, I do not want to be in those middle seats. Oh, they're usually like that configuration for a long flight, and it's just impossible to sleep or get comfortable. 2 airplane seat configuration changes that I have noticed for 2025 is that there seems to be less room underneath the airplane seats as there used to be. That could be one reason why airlines are restricting your size so much lately. And the electronic boxes that are underneath the airplane seats are taking up some of that space or decreasing some of that space that we used to have under the airplane seat. However, here's what I also found is that the aisle seat sometimes is more narrow, and I do not remember the size airplanes, so that's why I say go to Seat Guru when you do know the plane size that you will be in. But usually the middle seat is like, it has enough room for like 2 bags underneath it. Another reason to not choose the aisle seat maybe is that you have to get up all the time to let the other 2 people out, okay? Please leave a comment below and let us know if you have had the footrest that comes down. Where did that come from? And we need to know that as passengers. There are some little changes that airlines are making that they have not told you about. And on Christmas Day, I'm going to be uploading that video, so be sure to check back or just watch for it, or make sure you're subscribed. Some other seats to avoid inside the airplane would be near the lavatory that's in the middle of the airplane. I never even think to look at that. It's convenient for the really long planes now, but if you get nauseous from smells or you do not like the cleaning or the blue juice smell, stay away from those seats. My husband made a video where he answers your questions about the blue juice and if you could get it sloshed on you. So I'll put that in the first comment that I pinned for you, as well as up here and in the description box with all the other stuff, with the link for Seat Guru. One travel tip for seats in the front or the very back of the airplane is the flight attendants will be working in the galley, so prepare for it to be noisy. As you know, I treated myself to a first class seat going overseas. We bought tickets, loved it, but I also treated myself for this work function in first class flying domestically. That was on United, and it was nothing fancy. It was like a regular seat with a little padding in it with no food. There were snacks that were different from the regular back of the plane passenger snack availability, but it was nothing special. So save your money and just give yourself an extra 5 minutes to get off the airplane if that's your number one reason for buying a first class ticket. If you are worried about turbulence in an airplane, my husband, who is a pilot, his recommendation is that you sit anywhere front of the wings of the airplane, as close to the front as you can, because that seems to be smoother overall. I also have noticed that the seat back pockets are somewhat non-existent. They are so small, you cannot even fit a regular book in there. So another travel tip for that is make sure you are lean on what you are going to do before your flight. Think of what type of person you are going to be for how you're going to spend your time during that flight, and then go through a list of just a few things that you need. I want you to consider which of these is worse to you, and that is the kind of seat you should avoid. I've given you the pros and cons for several airplane seats in an airplane. You get to make the final decision. Before you go watch another video, I do have this video about travel hacks for at your airplane seat, and I'll list another one to help you pack and carry-on luggage down below. Say hey if we have not met yet. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm so glad you're here.